Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 39 of Brace for Impact. Welcome, Parks. It's great to have you back. You're tired.
Oh,
I'm
goodness.
retired. It's great. What a banger intro. Welcome,
Oh
welcome,
my
everybody.
goodness. We talked a little bit before of like what you were gonna
Yeah.
do because it took you actually like 5 minutes to drag the rocking chair in. I'm so glad you did. Yeah, you're on mute.
that's
It's
that's
perfect.
what I say. Anyone that wants to come and ask me to cast,
You
that's
got
that's
you
that's what you
got
get.
all the good stuff after you retired. Like that was your retirement gift was the
What
mug
does she? Yeah.
and
Oh,
the
I see.
rocking
And the
chair
rocking
now.
chair is that what you?
Yeah,
No.
you got all this
So
like wacky stuff. Like this could have been like
the,
your shtick.
the rocking chair is actually going in the trash next week.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
way. It
Yep.
can't. Not. Okay.
Anyway, doesn't mean I'm unretiring though. Sorry.
No.
But let's get into it, shall we? We actually do have a lot to go over in terms of the results, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna brave it out. I'm
Eh,
glad you're back from Fragadelphia, from my wonderful city. And let's
I'm never going back to that city with a car.
yeah, you should never,
I'm never
honestly.
driving in Philadelphia
Yeah,
again, like
honestly.
with my car. Screw that place
Yeah.
for that.
Um,
Let's get some results going, I think.
yeah,
Like
let's
quickly.
go into the Oceanic Cash Cups, right? I'm gonna start
We're
with
gonna start with the cash
the
cups.
the what?
The cash cups.
Yes. Well, should we start with Oceania
No,
or should
no.
I start with
Let's
Asia
just
Pacific?
yeah, start Asia Pacific. Did they have one finally?
They have one. Yeah, and here's the thing,
Woo!
Park. Not only did they have one on the 2nd of March, the one on the 16th got canceled.
Oh.
Not only did they have one on the 2nd of March, Parks,
Yeah.
but they had 3 teams this time. They actually had 3 teams.
Woo! They had
Yeah.
3. Let's
We had 2
go.
Filipino teams play against each other in the semifinal. 16-5, 16-6 for Invincible team. We all know that one. My team, MAI team, was the other opponent, I should say. Actually, I shouldn't say 2 Filipino teams. I'm sorry. Invincible team is Thai.
Yeah.
So we had the Thai team versus the
Versus my team, which is the
oh, I'm sorry.
Filipino
That's
team.
the final. I bet
That's the
it was
final.
the 2 Filipino teams in the semifinal. That was a 3-mapper as well. My team beat Estrella, 13-11, 10-13, 13-8. That was Mirage, Anubis, Ancient. So pretty good series. And then you got the final, which was 13-5, 13-6 for the Thai team of Invincible team. So we've seen them before. Obviously, right? Mirage, Ancient, by the way, for those 2 maps. We've seen them before, though. They're back. They've won another Cash Cup. The Asia Pacific Cash Cup has actually taken place. And then the next one immediately turned around and got canceled because no signups. So,
I have something funny to say. Actually, I went and looked at the
yes.
FACEIT page between Estrella and my team. JDC, whoever that is, it has a Canadian flag next to
I
their
know.
FACEIT
I don't know
profile.
why.
And Keegan Rainey, who is another player on my team, has a Spanish flag next to their. So who knows? Maybe
Maybe
it
they're
was just an
expats.
maybe it was an external, like an international tournament. Like they actually like played from the
Yeah.
countries, and they just were like, you know what, 300 ping, but like we'll make some money regardless. So let's do
IESF
it.
light is what it
Yeah,
was.
that's pretty cool to see though. I'm glad that they finally got a cash cup in over
And
there.
3 teams as well.
Yeah,
Like,
huge.
so let's continue moving down the
Yeah.
chain. We're gonna go to Oceania. We're gonna go 2nd of March. We had High Voltage versus Akai Bowl, which everyone tells me I mispronunciate, and I understand I do.
Yarp.
But
Wow.
what?
Their team name comes up as Yarp. Oh, it's 3 teams. They got another
Oh,
3
it's 3
teamer.
teams. Yes, Akai Bowl actually had the walkover for this one, and I know the story. So I'm sorry, High Voltage got the walkover, and I know the story. So there was a Windows update that took place the day of the tournament, and Connie couldn't get it to work with the Face It anti-cheat because whenever Windows updates, apparently it bugs the anti-cheat. So they waited for about 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes, I think it was. And eventually the admin just said, you should have had this sorted before the tournament, which the admin's not wrong for saying, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's unfortunate because all the other 9 players were ready to go. Like,
yeah, there's not much.
yeah.
Like, sorry, I'll let Windows know that next time. That's just
Exactly.
that kind
Right.
of response is like, I understand where you're coming from, but like, dude, like if you think I tried to do, like if you think I'm not trying to fix this right now, like, come on, let's.
Oh, yeah. I think everybody knew. Like Connie wasn't
Yeah.
mad or anything like that. It's just one of those things where it's like it's very unfortunate that it happened. It did set up Yart versus High Voltage in the final. Very easy work. 13-1, 13-3 for Yarp over High Voltage.
Yep.
So Yarp win yet another Cash Cup, and then we had the emotional one. We had
Your final one.
my final cast. Yeah, we actually got 3 teams.
Yeah.
Stacks of Cash, Cash Cup Cuties. That was the semifinal. 13-6, 13-7. Pretty good series. Jazz joined me on the mic for this one as well.
Yeah.
And she was killing it. It was great. It was a really funny stream too, by the way, because just personally, real quick,
Yeah.
I have a bunch of channel redemptions for like ASMR cast around or
Yeah. And so they were all using them
shoehorn
all.
award. Everybody redeemed them because it was
Of
the
course.
last opportunity to do so. And Jazz hates the way I say mozzarella. So people were redeeming shoehorn and put mozzarella as the word I had to shoehorn in, and it just turned into chaos. It was
That's
pure chaos,
perfect.
but it was very good. It was very, very good.
I'm glad you got to condition Jazz to like what NA is like and will be like for like the future, because
Yeah,
I'm still
exactly.
here, so and Snicky is still here, so we all. I mean, the 3 of us together are just absolute chaos, and we've made that a point to bring it across in every single form of our casts ever. So,
Yeah.
that's great. That's perfect. I'm so glad you've conditioned her now, and you got the chance
I
to
thought
cast
she
it.
did the NA Cash Cup after me too. Like that was
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah, I
obviously
saw
for her
that.
that would be in the evening, and then I think she said the NA Cash Cup was midday the next day. So,
Yep.
Anyway, the final of this though, Parks, what a banger, man. If there was ever a way to sign off, this was the way to do it, right? Stacks of Cash and Yarp, they played Mirage, right? Stacks of Cash, they played Mirage as the opening map.
Yeah.
Stacks of Cash actually took it off Yarp 25-22. It was a quadruple overtime game. It was insane. Like it was one map taking an hour and a half. Like it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. And then we got 2 13-9s, which there's a little bit of separation in 13-9, but let me tell you something. They only got there like at the end. Like it was 8-8, 9-9, you know what I mean? Like maps like that. And then you run out to 13, like it was one of those. So
Yeah.
really, really good series. Yarp did turn around the Mirage loss on Overpass and Ancient. So they win yet another Cash Cup, but it was an absolute banger. It lasted 5 hours, and it absolutely undid my sleep schedule for the whole weekend. So,
All right. Well, we need to motor along here. So we've got more Cash Cups here. March 2nd.
Yep.
So South Africa had Cash Cups come through. Their first one, they had 4 teams come in. ATK going up against White Rabbit Amorales in the finals. 13-5, 13-3 to a win for ATK on that. I don't think there's been. Well, I don't
No.
see Meggy on ATK. Cash Cup.
Mm.
And then
She
coming.
might not have played.
Might not have played. And then the next one there was a 3 teams, and one of the teams was Aperture Gaming.
Yep.
The other one was.
Who actually played in that first Cash Cup, by the way.
Did they?
Lost in the semifinals to ATK.
Ah, okay. And so they went up against White Rabbit Amorales, and White Rabbit Amorales 13-1, 13-2. I just kicked my board. Now my. Well, I can keep going because all my stuff's on the second monitor. I love sensitive cables. Okay. So I don't know what we want to comment on South Africa on that one.
I don't
There's
think
much really to
anything
say.
needs to really. I mean, just another 2 Cash Cups in the books. Nice
Yeah.
to see Aperture play. I think I saw the Namibians who have a team that might be Aperture actually, but
Yeah.
I just closed the tab, so I'm not going to reopen it. But nonetheless, they were playing in the Cash Cups as well, so great to see him still going along every Cash Cup opportunity. So over to South America, we're going to start with the 2nd of March. It's Fakazino versus Davina, and then Panalina versus Baraluna. Those are actually the names, but it's actually the side of Fakazino who beats. Oh, I'm sorry, it was a walkover on Davina in the semifinal, and then it was 13-4, 13-3 for Panalina, which is a mixed side of Goddess, Junger, Julie, Anna, and Josie. So Poppin's not available to play that one.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, they still Panalina still took the victory 2-0 in the final as well over Fakazino's 13-1, 13-5. Anubis and Vertigo. So the hybrid win, yet another one, and then we got a interesting Cash Cup. We had 5 teams for the Cash Cup on the 16th, right?
Yeah.
Furia,
You keep
KG
going,
Network.
It's
Oh, good. Furia, KG Network, Fake Easy, Akatsuki, and then Fake Zeno as well. And then I don't know why, but that semifinal between Akatsuki and Fake Zeno was only one map. I don't know why. I don't know what happened there. But then anyway, it doesn't matter. Akatsuki got to the final. Akatsuki is a new team name, but it's still players you know. Samis is on here. Flyzenia, if you've watched any of the Gamers Club events, was on there. V obviously is on there as well, but it was Furia that would win that one 2-0, 13-10, 13-2 Vertigo and Ancient. So Furia win a Cash Cup as well. On to
I'm a technical difficulty.
all good. On to North America. Should I keep going?
Oh yeah, keep going.
Okay. On to North America, right? 2nd of March, I should say. We had 6 teams for this one. Strawberries, Limitless Angels, Nouns, and Radiant Rebels would be in the quarterfinals. Limitless Angels 13-2 over Strawberries. Strawberries, of course, was Charmaine, Jellybean, Tsunami. You remember Tsunami played in season 1, and Lord knows I can't remember the team name, but that she played on. It's been so long, man. My memory. You see this rocking chair? It's not gonna hold up. But nonetheless, 13-2 on Mirage, so no sweat for Limitless Angels. 13-9 on Overpass for Nouns over Radiant Rebels. Radiant Rebels, of course, Chance, Sunny, Nopka, BMAX is on that, and Exclude, but Nouns dispatch of them. And so it was Nouns versus FlyQuest, and Shimmer versus Limitless Angels. 13-5, 19-16 on the Anubis for FlyQuest. So Nouns played them really close on the Anubis. And they looked pretty good. So good. All right, awesome. And then Shimmer, all good. Shimmer got a walkover on Limitless Angels in the semifinal. And then eventually it was FlyQuest Red versus Shimmer in the final, 13-8, 13-5 for FlyQuest. So FlyQuest take yet another Cash Cup. Do you want to pick up on the 16th of March?
Yeah, give me a second. Sorry,
I
love bad display port cables so much.
It's all good. This one was a smaller Cash Cup, by the way.
Thank goodness. Sorry, which one was this?
16th of March.
For NA, yeah?
NA Cash Cup number 6.
I mean, that makes sense considering 4 of the teams were in Philadelphia. So, you come up with
That's
3
true.
teams here. I missed what.
I mean, you know what the unfortunate thing about that is, actually, though?
Yeah.
Is that ESL is going to look at that and say, because of participation rates, NA is only going to get 1 slot.
I don't know who's on Tic Tac. Tic Tac was Shivani,
Is it
T-Bear.
Did you just say Tic? Oh, it is Tic Tac.
Shivani, T-Bear, Tara Please, TY, Licky. And then, of course, Radiant Rebels and I believe Nouns were the other team. Yeah. So it was Radiant Rebels and Nouns in the final. Because Radiant Rebels beat Tic Tac quite easily. Then it comes into a 13-8.
I would say quite easily.
Sorry.
It was a 2-1.
Oh, it was a 2-1. Yeah, sorry. I just kind of completely glossed over it and was looking at the 2-0. So it's 13-10 for Tic Tac, 13-5, 13-8 for Radiant Rebels. Take them over the line. And then we get to the Grand Finals, and it's a 13-8, 13-10 affair on Overpass and Ancient, and Nouns win that one. So they win a Cash Cup. I'm pretty sure that's their first Cash Cup win.
Yeah.
It's been...
They cold. Like me in this.
Well, sorry, I guess the last time this core, or I guess the last time this core won was October 28th / November 1st. that Cash Cup because they were playing under Cat 5.
Oh yes,
So
that was the one. There was like a big tournament that weekend or something, and they didn't play the final until like Wednesday or something like that. Remember?
yeah,
Because you said October 28th and November 1st.
yeah. The first two matches
Yeah,
were October. Was that Supergirl Gamer Pro?
it might have
That
been.
might have been Supergirl Gamer
It
Pro
might have
weekend.
been. Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah, because like I mean,
either way,
Lady Godivas was in there, and that was like Namita Barbuja, Alex T Bear J Lee, and Witchface, which was JD Mama Alien, Napka, Jellybean, and Keep. Yeah, this was just a bunch of random rosters kind of
yeah.
smashed together. Excuse me. So that's all of NA Cash Cups.
Yep.
I'm being. That leaves us just with EU,
Europe.
which
Yep.
banger of a match I think coming in the last one here. I saw some tweets about it. But for the week before, good names coming in. 21 teams participating. Notables being Fearless Cheetahs, Spirit, Wars was in here, NIP was in here, Violet was here, and
Yeah,
Big
Violet.
Akipa, Nemesis,
Yeah.
like, good rosters,
Yeah.
and another team called More Whiskey, which made it automatically great name.
I like that. Yeah. So, um, yeah. Nonetheless, it was the quarterfinals. By the way, was Fearless Cheetahs and More Whiskey, and oddly enough, Parks More Whiskey won over Fearless Cheetahs. That was this
They
spell
had more
Turbox
whiskey.
Girl.
They had more whiskey.
Fragadelphia. They did have more whiskey. 13-8 on Mirage. So, um, it's one of these things where if I remember correctly, Mirage was like old permaban for Nigma Galaxy, right? Now I understand Vilga's the only player
Yeah.
from Nigma on this side, but and they had a stand-in as well, I believe, with at the bottom of the match page, FK that. But nonetheless, it was More Whiskey that would win. Forza would best Spirit. NIP would best Violet, and then Big Akipa would best Nemesis. So this NIP Big Akipa rivalry, it's kind of a rivalry. It's been there. They've played each other a lot of times in the league. They're back. They're back to play each other yet again. And well, it was Big Akipa that would come out on top 2-0. Forza would put down More Whiskey 2-1, and that would set up the grand final. Big Akipa and Forza, which was just a very, very good. Well, it was mostly a very good series. The reason I say
Sorry,
is the
I have
first
a
map.
really good joke I want to say. But
Good.
you could say Forza had no more whiskey.
They okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
My bad.
It's all good. It's all good.
It really did
Um,
not seem like it based on your reaction.
it was okay. It
It
was
was okay.
okay. It was all right.
All
So
good.
that's what I was looking for. Anyway, so
I have my soundboard back on, so it goes into the recording. Perfect. That's perfect.
okay, it only took the old man about a minute to get it going. Anyway, um, Biggie Keeper would win the first map 13-10, and then the second map actually went to Forza 16-14. So it sets yourself up for like a great series. Like, oh my god, this is gonna be a great series. 13-1 the final map, complete blowout on the final map. Biggie Keeper would win. And Parks, I've done enough talking. Let me have you take away the Cash Cup on the
Second one.
16th, which was significantly smaller, mind you.
Yeah, 16 teams over the event, and a lot less notable names coming. So Forza Ladies was back, Nemesis was back. We had Snowguard coming into this one, or at least they made the notable page. Astra was running a team question mark with Oxysat, Twix, Irbitska, Miley, and Amirs was coaching. Trying to look and see if I recognize it.
A lot
More
of
whiskey,
former names on that team, by
More
the way.
whiskey was back.
Yep.
Of course, from the last Cash Cup, and there's a few other teams recognize the name. They look to be CIS hug teams, essentially, kind of thing. Like
Yes.
5 ladies pulling
Yes.
themselves together. This one was an interesting one. So, a team called I don't know how I'm gonna say that. My nose wants to. Nowicki. There's a 9 in there, so Nowicki. Against Forza Ladies, they won that. Naiwiki won that one 13-9. Snowguard would win their matchup against Question Mark 13-11. Nemesis 13-10, and More Whiskey would bow out in the first round. Kind of accumulate that up through the rankings. We get to the grand final of Nemesis against Naiwiki. So Snowguard would lose in the semifinals. 5 Bites lost the semifinals to Nemesis. And Nemesis would win 13-5 on Mirage and Nuke to take the 2-0 and win their Cash Cup. So I love this bit. This is my favorite part of the bit because I know she watched once and was like, "Oh my god, they talked about me." It's really fun to mention Lolita every single time and be like, "Yeah, shout out Lolita,
exactly.
you won a Cash Cup," and we mentioned it. So
She's like a triple Cash Cup winner now, or I
you
think,
gotta
or
like
something like that.
clip
Like,
this section, and put it on Twitter, like the entire bit
I
of just
usually
us
clip
mentioning
it
it.
and then send it to them in the Twitter DMs. Is what I usually
Oh, you
do.
do? Okay, that's
Yeah,
smart.
yeah.
That's
If we
big brain.
if we talk about a player that we haven't talked about before, and I know the player usually doesn't watch the pod, I'll actually
You just like
send
send
them
them. That's
the
smart. That's
clip.
smart.
Yeah.
Hey, we talked about you. Promote. I like that. That's smart.
Yeah,
Big brain
especially if
stuff.
it's all warm and fuzzy feeling.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah.
You should send one. You should send a clip one time. It's just like 30 seconds of us like dragging one of their teammates through the mud. Just be like, "Hey, can you promote our podcast?" Just to see if they
Why
would
would
do
I
it.
ever?
Just to see if they would do it. Because like some of them might think it was really funny and be like, you know what, they actually made a lot of good points. And like lighthearted teasing. Not I'm saying like, oh, their dog. Like
Oh, I thought you meant like go in on them.
no,
Like,
no, no,
why
no.
would I
Sorry.
ever? Okay, all right,
No,
all right.
like
Yes.
just teasing them for a little bit. Okay.
This,
All right, we've got 2 weeks worth of Impact League stuff to get to,
yes.
and we have not a lot of time, so fast we go.
Yep.
Asian qualifiers came up recently.
Oh
Um,
yes. Oh wow.
so
I
we'll
totally
start
forgot
there.
about this.
5 teams signed up. The 2 notable teams I'm going to talk about. There's a few notable teams here. There was a team called Sailor Moon, which was a Hong Kong 5-stack.
Yes, if you remember, real quick,
yeah,
this was actually during the IESF event. This was Team Hong Kong.
right, yeah. So then, the other notable team we had was Stacks of Cash, which was Artemis, Chicken Loaf, Soko, Hope, and Kimbab, and that was the Australian that was the Oceania contingent trying to make
Yep.
it.
Yep.
And then HSG, of course, were in this one with GFI, Leo, Olga, Zhawu, 95. I don't know who 95
Yes.
and I don't know who Leo are. Leo has an actual.
Well, Leo is Leo
page,
Bong.
so...
You know her as Leo Bong, right?
Ah, I see.
So,
I see.
she
Okay.
played on Tai Lu and 7 p.m.
Yeah.
with Ramona. Wait, that's like going back like pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've been on teams together before.
Yeah,
95,
sorry.
I'm
So
sure, has been around.
She was last marked. Sorry, was last marked to be playing on Team Sway in 2020,
Okay.
and only recently started playing for HSG. It has her marked as HSG as March the 9th, which I guess is when HSG played.
Right.
And won. Oh, they played in. She played in a few Cash Cups with them.
Right. It says on the team page, by the way, that they promoted her February 20th from the academy team, 95.
Okay.
So
we're getting some.
and yes, they do have an academy team.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Xiao Wu, I think might. I don't know if she manages it. I think she might.
That's wild.
Because when I did the Asia Cash Cup once,
Yeah.
they entered the academy team in the Cash Cup, and she came into the chat and was watching the academy team play.
Maybe they're just
like,
friends or something. I don't know. Maybe wasn't she on the academy team? Anyways. So HSG ended up taking a 2-0 over Team Yangers, which was a Filipino 5-stack playing.
Yeah, it's basically invincible team.
Yeah. And then Stacks of Cash went 0-2 against Sailor Moon, 13-7, 13-8. So that set up a grand final of HSG versus Sailor Moon, and it was 13-4, 13-5 for HSG. So we will be seeing HSG again in Dallas for the last wildcard opportunity. They've always made, and I'm just as a quick aside here, have been remarks made by HSG, by the players specifically saying, if we need to, we will play in Europe, and I 100% support that. I 100% think they could do it because they're that good. So,
I think so too. I think they're.
my
concern is, I think it's. I don't know if they make the land. If it's.
I don't know if they make the land, but I know that they would do well, and I think they would do
Yeah.
okay in Europe.
Yeah,
think
if it's
that's-
6 spots like it is going to be for season 6, I would fancy them making it. But I'm like, I don't know. There's too
Yeah.
much that look good in Europe. Let's talk about who looks good. But let's not start in Europe. Let's talk about actually, let's start in Europe. Let's start in Europe for once. Yep.
Screw them. Let's start in Europe.
Yeah, the opening 2 weeks of Impact Group A, we're going to fly through it. Big
Yeah.
Equipa, Astralis. Remember I said Astralis, this team I wasn't really too fond of. A lot of people are like, this is the first big benchmark. And look, they do have, I believe is it Iso? Was it? Oh, Ismo, who looks really good. She's like 17, I think 16 or 17. She looks incredible. She did in this series, but it was Big Keep at the end of the day, 13-7, 13-6. Pigeons played NIP. Pigeons, of course, ex-Enigma Galaxy. 13-7, 13-8 for Pigeons. No problem there. And then for week 2, we had Ents Athena play Guild. This was the one I was really interested in, Parks, because both of these teams had made the roster line changes, right? And Guild look a lot better. Ents, I thought, looked really potent, and they played very potent. 13-5, 16-14 on the Ancient. So Guild, I should say, looking pretty good on Ancient, but it was Ents Athena 2-0 at the end of the day. And I'm looking at that and saying, Ents Athena have to play Pigeons in week 4, and I would say at the rate that Ents Athena played, that's going to be a massive matchup, I think, in week 4 to look out for. The other one was Pigeons playing again. They played Big Equipa, who looked good the opening week. What a series, Park. Pigeons took week 13-10. Mirage went to Big Equipa 13-8, and then 16-13 on the overpass. Pigeons skirt by Big Equipa. But I think the big thing to take away from this opening 2 is that Pigeons, we talked about how good Enigma Galaxy you are. We talked about how they managed to lose on land to NIP, I think it was.
They lost.
They lost the map.
Yeah, they
to
Fluxo. They lost a map
yes,
at land to Fluxo. They
and
lost
to
online to
Black
NIP.
Dragons. They lost the map to Black Dragons at a Gamer Girl land.
Right.
So and then you like you said, they lost twice online to NIP, right? So everybody's looking at it going, it's very hard to find the crack in the armor. Now, I think they're there for the taking, Parks. I think they're really there for the taking. I think they make the land. I don't think we're not going to see the land without Team Pigeons. But do they finish as the number 1 seed? I can see a chance, a possibility where they don't.
Right.
That was my big takeaway from this group.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the upcoming 2 weeks will be interesting. They get next week off, of course. Pigeons do. For Big Equipa, they get next week off as well because they played 2 matches. I think next week's the week 3 upcoming match will be interesting. Is going to be NIP versus Athena because we saw NIP only played 1 match so far. It was against Pigeons, so there's not much of a litmus there. And they still played 7 rounds, 8 rounds on the other side. So it'll be interesting to see where Athena go on that match, because if Athena can do that one handily, then there's a very good chance that they handle Pigeons kind of like Big did, and maybe even get a map win on that. So it'd be cool to pick in that one. Group B then, first 2 weeks, Navi Javelins going up against Fearless Cheetahs. And it was a 13-10 affair on first map for Fearless Cheetahs, and then it was a 13-3, 13-7. So Navi taking that one handily in the end on the last 2 maps. Take a 2-1 lead on that.
You want to know what's interesting about that, by the way? Real quick, that's about that series. So, what was the map that Enigma looked the weakest on at the Season 4 finals?
Vertigo.
Well, and then you get Vilka that comes into this side. First off, they looked nothing like the side that lost in the Cash Cups, but granted, they didn't have stand-ins then. And they did have stand-ins then. They didn't now. But they look like they won the Vertigo, and I'm like, what? Where did this come from? Like Enigma, like I wouldn't have fancied them on the Vertigo at all, and now here they are taking Vertigo off, arguably the strongest team in Europe at the moment in Navi Javelin. So I think you can already start to see the effects of Vilka working on the side. I think that's the main takeaway.
Okay, and then the other match of that week was Spirit versus One Wing Gang, and Spirit took this one 2-0. It was a 19-17 win on Ancient, and then a 13-5 win on Overpass for Spirit to take that one. And then Gamer Legion going up against VP. It was a 2-1 win for Gamer Legion. They lost first map 13-10, and then they won the next two 13-10. So strong from the Prism ladies. Good to see that they have the resolve on that one. Very interesting storyline across the whole thing. Is every team, if you lost, got 10 rounds. So it was close games across the way. And then the last match of the week was Navi Jowans versus One Wing Gang, 13-6, 13-5 for Navi. So they sit top of the board with 2-0. One Wing Gang struggling at the bottom now, 0-2. They're the first 1-2 team because Big Keep went 1-1. So
they've lost all their pieces. One Wing Gang, man, they've lost so many.
Yeah.
They lost, I think, I don't know if they had Mew, but they had Urbitka, and they had
Well, the hope I think was that with Patya and Fatal in that roster that they would do really well, and it's not seemed to have translated yet, which is a little unfortunate.
I think the interesting thing to note is if you look back, and I'm stretching back through the canals of time here. If you look back at the old No Fear 5 sides, 2020, 2021, things like that, right? They had Fatal and Patya in a team. And it was one of these things where first they had Patya, then they swapped her for Fatal, then they eventually swapped another player to bring Patya back in, and then they removed Patya, and then the team kind of dissolved, right? They removed Fatal. So whenever the team looked the strongest, it was without Patya with Fatal. And we saw that with Nine Pandas Fearless, right? They were always the third best team in Europe. Now you have this mix, Patya and Fatal are playing again, and it just doesn't look. And it's not anything on the players. I'm not saying these players can't play together, or whatever. I just think it's always kind of been the same type of roster change.
Right.
That's, I think, the point I'm getting to. It's always been the same exact roster change, right? With the core three in Fearless, Cheetahs, and Fatal and Patya, right? And it's like, it seems to, no matter what they do, every time they try something that they've tried before, they get the exact same result, right? So I don't know. I don't know where. I mean, Fearless Cheetahs have not really. I mean, played with Vilga in over 4 years, so that's why I'm interested in that side. I think this One Win Gang is unfortunately kind of done. I mean, you look at VP and you think maybe they can take it, but the matchup versus Spirit would have been the only other one I really fancied them in, and they dropped that 2-0. So I think it's going to be tough for them.
In terms of the next 2 weeks, I think actually the match to watch will be Fearless Cheetahs going up against Spirit in week 4. Just to see, because if Spirit, I mean, like Spirit have only played one match, but the way, I don't know, that's kind of like, this is the problem, is they not all these teams have played 2 weeks worth of matches to go and like say, hey, I think the team to look out for right now is Fearless Cheetahs to see kind of how they rebound after that loss.
Yes.
Especially because it was such a good matchup between Navi and them. Just to kind of see how they stack up against the rest of the group, because now you're not playing the number 1 team in the group anymore. You're playing everyone else, so that can kind of change things up a little bit.
For me, it's Spirit VP.
Yeah,
because if
see
Spirit
where the bottom of the map is, or
I think the thing is if Spirit can handle VP, because Spirit is such an enigma. You know what I mean? They play well. They don't play well sometimes. It's like, but if they can come in against VP, handle business, and go, that would make them what 2-0. I think even if they, and those are the only 2 wins I would have said I would have fancied them on, was potentially over One Win Gang and VP, right? Because I don't fancy them over VP or Fearless Cheetahs. Definitely not Navi. They got to play all the other big teams. Gamer Legion, maybe they could squeak out a win too. But even if they go 2-4, it might be good enough to avoid relegation for Spirit, and they can come back next season. So, because I had a look at the rankings on the Liquipedia page, and the bottom 2 in each group drop out. They get relegated. So even if you don't make playoffs, if you finish 4th in the group, you just secure your spot for season 6. And I'm like, there's a chance that Spirit do that if they win against VP next week.
Right. Cool. Okay, well, we're going to move on to South America then, if that makes sense. And this is going to be a good one. First 2 weeks worth of matches. Ooh, buddy. Fluxo going up against Atrix.
What a series. What a series. Yeah.
Atrix took the first map 13-10, and then Fluxo stormed back 13-11, 13-7 to win that series. So they stay on the high. Continuing on then, Furia going up against W7M. It was a 2-0, 13-10, 13-6. MIBR going up against Davina, 13-3, 13-9. And Genki versus AG Female, 13-11, 13-4.
Right. Interesting thing for that with that Fluxo Atrix match. First off,
Yeah.
Bokor played unbelievable in that series. Bokor was 46 for 52 in the series.
Yeah.
But that says an IGL. Like she was 26 and 20 on the nuke. Like she just went off. They faded on the Inferno, obviously, right? But she just went absolutely nuts. And it was Junger and Poppins on nuke. They had so many situations where they were the last two alive, and they just managed it. Like they had a 2v5 Barks, Junger and Poppins, a 2v5, and they won the round. And it was one of those things where it's like, and I think it was a post plant retake. It was like, how should it be a 2v5 post plant? Like this just should never happen.
Yeah.
And it was a really great game from both of them. Junger went absolutely unbelievable on Inferno. She just went off on Inferno.
Yeah.
I think part of me I look at it two ways real quick. I look at it as Anax obviously hadn't worked, not been with the team very long, so obviously they were still trying to adapt with that.
Right.
But also, like, Bokor is just an amazing in-game leader, like an unbelievable in-game leader. And she's so young. That's why I just have so much hope and promise for this player. And I think she showed it with Atrix. I think Atrix are going to be a really tough team to beat. But let's go over week 2, shall we?
Yeah, week 2. Fury versus MIBR to start. It was a 2-1 affair. Fury ended up winning. It was 13-6 for MIBR the first map, 13-5, 13-11 the next two. So Furia stayed comfortably in that 2-0 slot with Fluxo because Fluxo won their match against W7M 2-0, 13-1, 13-6. The other two matches, Davina going up against KG Female, they won that one 13-11, 13-4. Very similar to Genki. Wait, were those the same maps? No, it was Ancient Mirage, so it was... Yeah, Vertigo, Ancient seemed to be KG's maps. They still aren't really that great at Mirage, I guess, because they lost both matches 13-4. And then the final match of week 2 was Atrix versus Genki. And this is a weird one, because Atrix won this one 2-1. They won the first map 13-0. They then lost the second map 13-11.
Yeah.
Came back and won the third map 13-6.
Yep.
So
even Icy said something about this in your like production chat, I think, or something like that. And I was like,
yeah,
welcome to South America, my friend. Like it's like this. It reminds me of RSL. Real quick, real life example. RSL played LAFC in Real Salt Lake, and it was a blizzard. And by the time they were done, there was like 6 inches of snow on the pitch.
Yeah.
And Zach McMath, the RSL goalkeeper, comes up to Hugo Lloris, who had just signed in the offseason. Obviously, remember Hugo Lloris, Tottenham Hotspur keeper. He's now LAFC. They shirt swapped, and he said, Hugo, welcome to MLS. It's like this every week. That is exactly how I feel about South American Counter-Strike, my friend. It is like this every week, man.
That's so
every
funny.
week.
All right,
so
what is a series that we can for next 2 at
in South America.
Furia versus Atrix is probably gonna be a good one.
That is going to be a good one.
I think
yes,
that's the banger one to look out for. Just because that kind of decides where Atrix will sit at the end of this all. Like if Furia are still the going to be fighting with Fluxo, then it is what it is. We'll see how close they can get. But if Atrix went that close against Fluxo, and then they go close against Furia, or they win against Furia, all of a sudden door kind of opens. Well, that might mean that Fluxo's home free. The other idea here is then that Atrix is the one to look out for everybody else at that point as the second upcoming team.
Yeah, you also got Fluxo versus MIBR. And MIBR took the map off Furia. So you're looking at this MIBR. So we know they have Donnie there. We know they have the firepower, the potential. Yeah. So it's like, that is not going to be an easy matchup for Fluxo in week 3. So we'll see. When do Fluxo play Furia?
Oh.
I don't see them.
Fluxo Furia last week. Week 7.
weeks. Oh, there's a 7th week. Oh my
April
god, I'm not even
19th.
looking.
They play
Yeah,
them April 19th to
yeah.
potentially
All right.
decide everything. If Fury and Fluxo win out the
Yeah,
entire
it might
season,
be. Yeah,
that
there's
is
only
gonna
one
be a
spot on
day.
the line too.
Yeah,
So
that's wild. Why did they
yeah.
do that?
Because
Anyways,
they're bad at decision making.
that's
Uh,
no, that's perfect. What? Come on, that's the
oh,
highlight.
the matchup. I
Yeah,
thought you
yeah.
meant why is there only one spot? I was like, because they're
Oh,
bad at decision
nah,
making.
nah.
Anyway,
Okay,
over to
moving on
North
to
America, shall we?
which quickly shout out to Applesauce, aka Sophie Carrizo, who now finally
Drop
has.
her full name. Don't be
It's
doxxed. Well,
on
she's on
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia. Yeah, she's
You
on
can't.
Wikipedia. She's on.
Riz is in the name. That's the joke that we've had for the longest time because I knew her full name because of PayPal and stuff. But yeah, the first 2 weeks have come and gone. And we mentioned how week 7 in Europe or in South America had the banger match. Well, week 1 had the banger match here. FlyQuest Red versus Shimmer. Big one
Yeah,
for FlyQuest Red. 13-9. Shimmer replied 13-10, and then FlyQuest beat them out 13-9. Win that series. So FlyQuest Red currently sitting top. And I remember, yeah, they're both. There's 2 slots for North America to go to Dallas, so
yes.
not too worried there. Nouns going up against Wannagoon's Bandits, 13-11, 13-8 for Nouns. They keep on their strong gaming here. Coven versus Karma, 13-0, 13-3 for Karma.
Yeah, kind of
And then
expected.
The Angels versus Cleanup Crew, 13-6, 13-5 for the Angels. Coming into week 2 then, Karma or FlyQuest Red going up against Karma. This is a 13-2, 13-1. Angels going up against the Bandits, 13-5, 13-8. Then get to the next game, Shimmer versus Nouns, 13-11, 13-11. And I've got a story on
Great
this
series, by the way.
Great series. I've got a story on this one. Lucy's PC we were at Nerd Street. Lucy's PC had an issue halfway through the game, or partway through the game. So they were, or it was in the first half, I want to say, or maybe it was the second half. It was in the second half. And they put the game got put on pause for quite a while, like huge technical delays. And they eventually just said, time is up, you have to play 5v4. And they did, and then Lucy eventually was able to get her PC back, and she couldn't use her mouse. Something happened with her configs where her mouse wouldn't move. And so she was using arrow keys to look up and down. But the direction she was facing when she started moving was the only direction she could face. She still managed to get 4 kills.
There you go.
And they won 13-11. And then they played Overpass and they won again 13. That was Shimmer Day 1 of Philadelphia.
That was the start of the journey. That was the Philadelphia story from Parks, which is gonna go down in his lore.
Yeah, that's a lore. That's yeah. Anyways, Cleanup Crew then faced off against Coven. They won that one 13-2, 13-4.
Yeah, I mean that's the only matchup you would have thought, by the way, that like Coven would have had a chance at winning, and they got absolutely smoked. So
they're here for fun.
Yeah, they are here for fun. You are right. But in the words of, as the kids say these days, Parks.
Yeah,
they're cooked.
That's good. That's good. Okay. Matchups upcoming then. What are we looking forward to? I don't really.
I would say honestly, the big matchup for me upcoming is going to be Karma versus Nouns, and the reason I say that is because Karma have not. I mean, they got absolutely destroyed by FlyQuest.
Yeah. So
now they got to play. Now they got to play Shimmer week 3. I think it's going to be much of the same. I mean, last season, I should say, it was one of these things where, remember, like, they beat them, but then Shimmer beat them, and it was like this three-way carousel.
They beat Shimmer 2-0, but they lost to Limitless, and Limitless got beaten by Shimmer. And
yeah, I don't think it's going to happen this season.
No.
I think Shimmer are going to come out and handle business. Yeah. So for me, I'm like, what has happened to this Karma side? Where are they? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And Nouns is the team where it's like, if you can't beat Shimmer and you can't beat FlyQuest, you've got to take somebody down in this scene, right? To establish yourself as a contender.
You got to see how Karma can do against Limitless and Nouns at this point.
Yeah,
those are the 2 teams that they got to benchmark themselves against.
Right. Just to say, you know what, we can come back next season, or you know what, we can try to compete, because right now they don't look competitive, and I think that's a big problem.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, well, that is all of Impact stuff. that
Mhm.
leaves us with a little bit of time. I think we'll just quickly mention Fragadelphia. There's not really too much, unfortunately, to talk about it.
We can do the Fast Cup, by the way, next
Well,
next
we'll
week.
mention the Fast Cup as well. I don't really
Okay.
have.
Well, the only thing I wanted to mention with Fast Cup, let's start with it, is
Yeah,
that
let's start
it's
with Fast Cup.
back.
Yeah.
It's back. It's our first Fast Cup female since September.
Yeah.
And obviously, these Fast Cups, it's a lot of CIS sides.
Yeah.
CIS is the region, or what used to be the region, right?
Yes.
And
Well,
it's nonetheless
Euro.
here. I mean, a team called X-Ray G1. It was $200 for first place. It was $100 for second place.
Yeah.
And it had Splyushka and Dash Q on it. Pretty much an all Russian side. And the whiskey team, Vispel, Turbo X Girl, they took home
They took
second place.
I'm
But
a fan of the whiskey team just because of the name. I think
of,
that's the only mention.
Parks likes whiskey, noted. But nonetheless, that was it for the Fast Cup team. I hope we see more of them. I really do.
For sure.
But let's talk about Fragadelphia.
Yeah, Fragadelphia. So, quickly mention FlyQuest Red of the 4 teams that went, which was Limitless Angels, Karma, Shimmer, and FlyQuest Red. FlyQuest were the only ones to make it out of their group stage. Interestingly enough, they had to beat Limitless to do it because they lost to Fisher.
And it was a tight best of 3 that one.
It was 2 maps, but they were both very close OT maps.
They were both like 13-11s, I think.
Yeah, they were. Well, no, they were OTs. They both went to OT.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Because they were the last match to leave on day 2. So FlyQuest Red were the only ones to make it out of groups. An interesting, I think the best word would be schism. I'm not sure. Is that they had to forfeit their first map because they were late to the venue.
Playoffs, you mean?
Of the playoffs, yeah, of the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened and stuff basically.
From what I heard, Lag were staying at the same place. So I don't know if they got a hotel, and Lag got a hotel. Okay.
I don't know.
Then that's wrong.
Yeah.
Cut that out the pot. It's like
no. So yeah, the first map ended up being a forfeit, and then Lag won 13-8, I want to say, on the second map, and that just took them all the way to the finals where they won. So some would say they FlyQuest started the championship run for them. I guess other notable things on the Shimmer side, like we had tech issues day 1, came back day 2 to play We played 3 best of 3s in a row. We played 2 for Fragadelphia, and we played our IM playoff match to make main, which we did. Thank goodness.
Congratulations on
thank you so
Shimmer,
much.
by the way.
And we ended up losing to Revel both our matches. We lost in the starting on day 1, and then we lost day 2 as well to them. It was a close matchup though. Like it was, it ended up being on stream, and people said it was probably one of the best matches that they watched. Just because of how close it was and how heated it got. And like, I mean, I was shouting. I don't know if you watched the stream at all, but like people were like, I know Tony made a comment about it on the stream because like I was here and they were like over here and they could hear me shouting, and I mean I got into it. They were like, something snapped in Scott. He's going crazy. So very, very fun.
I wanted to talk about the issue you had day 1 because I thought
so the PCs in that corner were overclocked too hard for some reason, and as a result Phoebe's kept crashing, so somebody would die and Phoebe would crash. So
but as a LAN center, do you not have a PC you can swap?
There were so many PCs getting swapped and moved around, and he was gonna move us, but if we were gonna get moved, we were gonna get moved to inferior PCs and he didn't want that to be like a competitive advantage thing, because we were running 4080s, and like the ones that they had available as spare were 3060s, I think. So he's
we'll still run CS fine. Honestly.
Yeah, but it was one of those things of just like, we don't want to mess with it. We're just going to leave it until, and I mean, we brought them to overtime regardless and still lost, but yeah, it was, I mean, yeah, and like it wasn't even much.
I felt bad because I felt like it was a winnable series, and then Shimmer got a chance at it.
Yeah.
On day 2, and then they didn't win. So
yeah,
I was like,
it was a close run thing. On day 2 as well. Yeah, there's a lot of Revel were great, to be fair to them. Like they played really hard. It sucks to go out the way we did. Like we felt like we had it on Nuke as well, and it just kind of slipped out of our hands. We were up 11-9, so is what it is. And then Karma, yeah, Karma.
Oh, they bowed out immediately.
It was an unfortunate weekend for them. They lost an IM playoff match as well. I think they had an IM playoff match to make main, and they unfortunately lost theirs. So rough around the edges for them.
the one thing I did want to mention about it really quickly, and why I
Yeah.
wanted to take a small minute to mention Frag, is that it is wonderful to see the team. This isn't even a main Frag, by the way. We're
No,
gonna
it
get that
isn't.
later in the year, but it's wonderful to see that 4 teams came out, because
Yeah.
my first Fragadelphia event was Frag 11. That's what actually got me fall in love with Counter-Strike even more,
Yeah.
right? And that event, um, it was Dignitas and FlyQuest Red. There was a really heated rivalry, right, between the two, or not FlyQuest. Back then it was CLG Red. And Frag 12, they both came out, but you've had mixed teams at the, you know what I mean? You had
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was Thea at the time playing on a team called Miss Muffin or something like that, who was in the group with CLG Red at Frag 12. But you had to have other women's Counter-Strike players come through on mixed teams or whatever. But it wasn't like, it was always just 2 full women's teams coming. It was always
Right.
Dignitas and CLG. It was never
Yeah.
anything. So the fact that now we have 4 teams that show up to a Fragadelphia that are willing to travel,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't an event like you hear sometimes at like an FGC event where a lot of them get kind of bullied and whatnot for
Yeah.
trying to be a competitor. It seemed like it was really a very inclusive
genuinely,
event.
it was very
And
nice. And I
yeah,
know there was a lot of people came up to us and were like you guys have put people on notice of who you are. Like, people kind of thought it was a joke that you guys were coming, and you're an IM team, whatever. And these players are really, so there was there, it just kind of turned around and was like,
yeah,
we're here to play. It's not like we're just an impact team playing easy.
yeah,
We wanted to show
yeah.
up and we wanted to play good, and that's and
You put the
really we
words
did.
that I was trying to say perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I'm happy. I'm happy with everything. And I mean, it meant so much to the girls. And they'll tell you themselves. This whole thing meant so much to them, just because they, as a 5, hadn't had a chance to hang out as together as a team and everything. And so that was a huge point of this, was getting them all comfortable with each other and playing with each other, because you find out so much on LAN. And we know that. That's why
oh yeah,
all the LANs were so good. LAN shows all, as you like to say. So we
true.
had all that. We had all that, and I'm happy with it. I'm happy with everything. I wish my wallet the best of luck in the waning months here, as I financially recover from everything. Oh my
And then got to
goodness.
go to Dallas.
And then I got to go to Dallas. I mean, yeah. So, that's Fragadelphia in a little bit of a nutshell. And then that is all the results as a thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's get into a little bit of the news.
Yeah, we've got a few minutes here. We can get into the news. So,
right. So let me start. I'll start.
Yeah,
Let's start with the news. We're going to start down in Brazil. We're going to start with the report that came out, dust2.br, and I would recommend everyone go read it or try to translate. It's a little bit rough on the translation. I actually had to ask Gonzalo for some help on it. But essentially, the Brazilian Ministry of Sport, so obviously that's a government agency, right? They have opened an investigation into the CBDEL, which is essentially the Brazilian Esports Federation. So you know how you have IESF, and then underneath them they have all the national federations, and
right.
they constantly try to talk and act like they're not associated with each other. They are. I mean, it's all one giant organization chain, right? But the Brazilian Ministry of Sports is investigating the CBDEL on corruption claims.
Brazilian corruption. Sorry.
Yeah, that basically relate to the fact that the CBDEL was responsible for running a qualifier for an event, and instead of picking the team that won the qualifier, they picked a different team, and a player on that team has a relation to somebody, a family relation to somebody within the CBDEL board,
right?
That was responsible for making the choice. Now, if you put your pieces together, relates back to the 2023 IESF qualifiers. There was basically 2 Brazilian teams that played in the first qualifier, right?
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of the teams, but one of them won. And the one that won is basically like an impact team, right? They're equivalent of an impact team, and I think they actually, the players have played an impact. then the CBDEL decided to host a second qualifier. They didn't publicize it, right?
Yeah.
And then the team that they beat signed up as the only team for the second qualifier. And then they said, well, since they finished second in the first qualifier and first in the second qualifier, that gives them more points than the team in the first qualifier that won it. So we're going to send the second team as our representative. And that's what happened. They came up with this points excuse, right? Kind of like Gamer Girl or Super Gamer Girl used to do, right? That you would play every week and you would get points every week and stuff like that. But they did that, but across two qualifiers. They didn't advertise the second qualifier. They didn't talk to anybody about the second qualifier. They just created it, had
Put
the
the
team
team
sign
in,
up, and then say, oh, they got a first and a second. That beats first and nothing, no placement. So let's send this team. And it turns out that there's some sort of family tie between one of the players and one of the people within the CBDEL. And that's
Interesting.
what the Brazilian Ministry of Sports is investigating. So all of this, of course, the IESF is going to look the other way and say, we don't have anything to do with it. It's the National Federation. But they
Yeah.
all pay money to the IESF, right, to be
Mhm.
recognized as the federation.
Yep.
And it just it stinks. This is what happens when an entity tries to come in and take over something that has no you know what I mean? The entity that should be leading the way is Valve. And then
Yeah.
and then that's it. You know what I mean? Like everybody else has to operate independently. You get something like the IESF coming in, this is the kind of stuff that happens. We know about the issue with Romania and the payments and all that stuff from last year. Great article from Dust 2 as well about that. We know about the problems with the South African qualifier from 2023. Like it is all over the place, and not a lot of it comes to the surface. But
Yeah.
I mean, this is the problem. Speaking of IESF, though, Parks, they've
They
announced
have
more details about this year's championship.
They have, and so the finals, of course, is going to be in Saudi Arabia, which I'm learning. I just saw a tweet from M&M's regarding that. Have it. Yeah. So I'll get to the M&M's thing in just a second, but so basically there are there are various amounts of teams going. Depending, and they it's like a 7-minute long video. It just kind of lays out, you have your national qualifier, then you have your regional qualifier, and then you have the actual thing. There's 7 titles, 2 of which are specifically for women, which is kind of cool. And then there's a certain amount of teams due across entire board. So very interesting to see across there. I liked the video itself. The video was very good at kind of showing
it makes
things.
it very clear.
Very, very comprehensive, which is nice. I like that. Here's where it gets fun. So, because everything leads to Saudi Arabia, there's been issues on what to do if you are a transgender player or anything like that. And that's been a hot button issue for a bit.
Yeah.
And we received some clarification from one of the Saudi princes. And the Saudi prince, this is direct from Jeff's tweet, he says, Saudi prince says athletes will be safe if they follow all local laws and customs. Local laws and customs include it being illegal to be transgender. Well, I guess that sells it then. Transgender athletes should not travel to Saudi Arabia for ISF official, nor ESWC.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
We kind of knew. We kind of saw this coming. I've had talks with friends who have gone there and have said, XYZ, this was, I felt I was treated great, like as a guest coming over there and spending time with them. I thought I was treated great. The problem is it's either anecdotal one way or it's anecdotal the other. But when you follow the law and you look at what the law says, it's just it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. And it's horrible. And I hate it. And there's not much I can do because they're the ones that are funding it. They're the ones that are running it. It's their options to do it, but it's just limiting. It's just limiting. And it's like,
just, yeah.
What
yeah,
are we
exactly.
doing?
Exactly.
What are we doing?
It's not a true world championship because the best players won't be there because
Well, you're looking at
Some of them are going to be, openly gay or transgender, and
Yeah.
that is.
I look at two players for Shimmer specifically, and I'm going
Yeah,
Phoebe and Lucy, Phoebe and Empathy. They're both
yeah,
transgender. Like Phoebe should be going with Team Australia.
yeah,
I don't
100%.
know if she's going to be able. I don't think she'll want to now. And Empathy,
I would
most of
actually
Shimmer will
advise her
go.
probably not to.
Yeah,
Probably not a good
don't
idea to.
go.
Yeah.
Stay home, stay safe, because it's not worth going to one of these tournaments and
Yeah.
potentially winning it because you're that good, to also the other side getting jailed or something.
Yeah. Read a
And
very
being
good book.
stuck. Yeah.
Yeah, read a very good book on something like this. And there was a fantastic quote, and I let somebody borrow the book, so I couldn't pull it out. But it was called "The Loom of Time." It's by Robert Kaplan, professor who has studied the Middle East
Right.
for decades. He's written 24 books. But in it, he said a lot of within Saudi Arabia, right? It looks like it is a country that is progressing. When you compare it relative to other areas of the Middle East, like an Iran, and that may be true. And he goes, a lot of the people that live in that society don't think that they are, that government is anything, untenable for foreigners. They don't understand the Western, I guess, hesitation towards visiting. And I said, because what's happened is a lot of the stuff that they did in the 90s and the 80s with this, the public beatings and stuff like that, it still goes on, but it's behind closed doors now.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the danger. That is the danger here. You know what I mean? So I believe they said, the Canadian Esports Federation originally kicked this off and said they can't guarantee the player safety of.
Which
I understand that they cannot. I understand why they can't. I don't think there's an issue with understanding why they can't.
I think there's a huge. I think the huge problem with this, and I know the staff behind ESL, or not ESL, Esports Canada. Like, one, they're volunteers most of the time. It's a not-for-profit organization.
Right.
They're following the Canadian law on Saudi Arabia on that, where they can't. There's no guarantee of Canadian safety.
And there's an open travel advisory.
And there's an open travel advisory and everything. But two, the reason they're getting so much backlash is because they were so open in announcing they were doing stuff. Like, the U.S. organization has not mentioned anything. A bunch of the other organizations have not mentioned anything. They're just kind of like, I don't know how they're reaching out to players, or if they are even reaching out to players. It's because Esports Canada was so open about being like, hey, we're planning on doing this, that they got a lot of noise, because everybody went, why? And it's like,
why? But
people
need to understand they're connected with IESF.
Yes,
they are a subsidiary essentially of IESF.
You had to.
So they don't. It's not them announcing, hey, we want to do this. We're going to do this. It's the IESF saying, you're doing this.
Well, it's a little bit different. You had to be a not-for-profit to be in with IESF. Like, you had to be an organization before you went to IESF. But that's what they're here for. Is like, they're here, like, Esports Canada, aside from all the collegiate stuff and aside from all the stuff they do in Canada, they're trying to get people out, because we don't have an esports Olympics, right? This is the closest thing we get to an esports Olympics.
Right.
So they want to be able to show that to everybody. But that is, when you put yourself out there, you get a spotlight on you pretty quick if it's something that people don't agree with. So that's the reason Esports Canada got a lot of flack, was because they're so open about, we're going to this. And it's not like they're just doing the esport, like they're just doing Counter-Strike. They're doing a bunch of the other ones. They actually had a Tekken player go to last year's in Romania, because that's kind of how it worked. And I'm not sure how they did, but I think they did okay, which is pretty cool.
Well, yeah, if I remember. So
but that's okay. So that's everything IESF wise, which we'll have to closely monitor that and see how that goes. Which is, yay, so much fun. Another tournament being announced was the Global Esports Tour in Rio. So they've got a tournament coming up in
April 18th to the 21st.
That's Laundersland time.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the Laundersland weekend. So that'll be fun.
In it says here, and I don't know if this is the Maracana.
Yeah.
But at the little pointer, the destination, it says Maracanãzinho.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I have
"Ooh,
no idea
don't
where
tell
that
me you're
is.
playing in the Maracana. Because can you imagine a women's Counter-Strike LAN
That looks, yeah, I
in the
mean,
Maracana?
I think that's what they're doing. I mean,
Oh, that's gonna be
that's
sick,
gonna
bro.
be cool.
That's gonna be sick. That's gonna
Well,
be so sick.
that'll be awesome. That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, that just leaves then the last piece of news. We left the best for the last. Nano Safix has
Yes.
announced that he is coaching the NIP Impact team, which is really cool. Because he's a very storied man. I guess most notably, he spent a lot of time with Sprout as a player.
Yes.
So that's really cool to see that they're getting a good amount of they're getting a lot of experience to come in on that. And I don't remember where I saw one. I don't remember when he tweeted it, but he was just like, I just starting off here, like he's like just seeing the amount of support and stuff is crazy. And then he also made a comment about how like almost every single opera in Europe is named Anna. So that was
Yeah,
pretty funny
yeah,
as well. I thought that was really funny because
That was
he's
funny,
going down the
yeah.
list. You're seeing people down like, oh yeah, our team's offer is also named Anna. It's like,
Yeah,
guys, what is happening? Why did we let this go through this far?
I
So
think you
that's
just have to add another N for the next. Did you just
yeah,
have?
yeah.
No, 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 no,
No,
no,
no, no,
no,
no,
no,
no, no,
no,
no,
no.
no. Okay. That is everything then. Benny, what are you watching? What are you watching over
Parks.
You're watching football.
I am watching football. No, actually, honestly, seriously, now Good Friday, which I think is March 29th this year, is I go on vacation. So
All right.
I'm watching my golf game, but I'm also going to be watching Impact, mainly just Impact. I think that's really all we have on the calendar for the next 2 weeks is
Yeah.
Impact. So it'll be just Impact. The only other thing I'll be watching is probably this Shimmer's run in the postseason, which the IM playoffs, which
going
right now
on
they're
right
1-1 against
Yeah.
Atomic. They're going to Anubis right now, and if they win, like you said in the pre-show before we went live, if
Yeah.
they win, they have to turn around and play a whole nother best of 3 because of the scheduling conflicts with
That's fine.
Fragadelphia.
The amount of
It is.
matches they played over this weekend is just wild.
And I
They
think
played-
Atomic were also there, by
They
the
were
way,
there.
at
That's
the
why.
event.
That's
Yeah,
why
so
it's
it's like,
why
oh,
it's,
there you go.
It was basically it was gonna be they play if they couldn't reschedule it because they ended up Atomic ended up finding us and talking to us, but they're like, yeah, if they couldn't reschedule, like all of them were traveling today, and I think it would have been kind of last minute to get them, or it would have been yesterday. All of Atomic were traveling, and they couldn't would have been last minute, but it would have been myself, the coach of Shimmer, the guy who's coaching them right now. I guess he's not officially the coach.
Yeah, when are you making the announcement, mate?
We're cooking. We're cooking. But it's 1, 2. Yeah, so it would have been the two of us playing in place of LX and Phoebe, and then they have another player named Kohai who would have played in place of the other one that.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Empathy. It was so those
Point
three
is, you
were
would have had
traveling
3
west.
subs.
Yeah, we would have had 3 subs. We have enough subs to make it work. But I would have been playing an IM match for a little bit until Lucy and Phoebe could get to a LAN center in LA to like to play, which is wild. But hey, man, I could have owned. But you know what? It could have worked out if we, if they were also traveling, or some of their players, like they all ended up traveling, I think. But like if some of their players were traveling as well and they had to use subs, then like there could have been something funny there. But
Yeah.
they're going on to map 3 right now, so I'm going to have to like keep an eye on that and see how that goes.
Well, Parks. On that note, though, what are you watching?
What am I watching? Well, I'm keeping an eye. Well, I'm doing ESL Impact still. We got the community cast coming up. Tomorrow again, I'm back in the saddle with Snicky actually taking over a bit more on producing, which is a lot of fun. It means I get a chance to cast instead of just producing. Cool. We're adding a bit more to the repertoire of both Snicky and myself. We're both expanding. Watching Shimmer as much as possible. And then I'm just trying to think what's coming up in the next few weeks. It's probably just gonna be a bit of a relaxation time, kind of getting prepped for season 49 because Saturday is the finals of everything. All the playoffs finish off on Saturday, so that'll be a lot of fun. Very, very interesting stuff.
Okay. Well, I look for. Hopefully, Shimmer continue to do the run. I'd love it if you guys just totally went out and just won intermediate. That'd
We'd
be
make
great.
advanced. We'd make advanced. That'd be insane. So
That would be insane, actually. And now that you mention it, that would be nuts.
Two women's
So,
teams in advance.
yeah, it'd be the first time ever, by the way. So, but on that note, let's wrap it up. It's a longer
Yeah.
episode this week because we just had so much. I mean, it's just a lot. But thank you so much for watching. That's episode 39 of the pod, the first post-retirement pod. I'm gonna go retire this rocking chair because it has to go in the trash.
Yeah.
But and we hope to see you back here in 2 weeks' time. For Parks, I'm Benikage. Take care and have a good one.